All right, there we go. We have our background music. We have our notes. We have everything ready to go. The shout out was given to Hans Half Elven. Thank you for popping over, my friend. Bruised Beef is here. And, hey.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much, Decoder. I intend to do so. Look, I show up here every night that I can. And in fact, in a month or two, I'm going to be here for some Tuesdays for some role-playing. And then we go into our workshop for 3 nights. And then we have our Saturday night together. So all throughout the year, there's going to be a couple times where you're going to be getting me 5 nights out of the week instead of 4. But Decoder, I'm still going to be showing up every night I can, and let's get to it. Let's oh, you know what? Last night was our randomized villain workshop. Tonight we are going to organize our notes and plan them. There we go. Oh, Decoder, is you're for real? I am bigger with excitement at Minor Illusion 42 joining us, yes? One day it will not be my voice accompanying the fanfare. I do want some help from you all in the community to lend your voices to the mascots. Jacance is saying hi. Well, thank you very much and much love right back to you, my friend. And thank you for that gift to Minor Illusion, Decoder. You step up very frequently in gifting subs, and it means a lot, especially now that Twitch is redoing their payouts for their subscribers, right? And it is moving into a 3-tier system, a 50-50, 60-40, 70-30 at different levels. One day, it'd be nice to hit that 70-30, but right now that 60-40 split is a goal that is very much within reach, thanks to you and others who do subscribe and gift subscriptions too. So a much love to you, Decoder. Ever since you found us, you've been popping up and participating in workshops. You've been hanging out and talking, and you've also been very generous with your gifted subs. That brings more people on board. Gets those emotes out there, and it means a lot to me. All right, so tonight isn't going to be especially difficult. In fact, I hope that none of our exercises really have been difficult. There might have been some steps, or maybe you were, you're going, well, why does he arrange things in that fashion or ask for this particular piece of information? Well, a little bit at a time, through every step, we get closer to a grand adventure. Not just for us role-playing as a DM who's going to run for 4 players, who we've also role-played as, but in learning things. In realizing that if we take our time and we do things, not even in a certain fashion, it's this or nothing. It's nerf or nothing, baby. That if you just take your time with it, you will uncover a beautiful and organic experience for both sides of the DM screen. Hey, Minor Illusion is here. Minor Illusion is among us. So welcome, Minor Illusion. In fact, for those of you who were around for it, can you remember going all the way back to the first character that we made in this workshop series? Was it a fun night? Do you remember what we were talking about, the character we built? Maybe you remember something that happened IRL in your life during the process of creating these characters, let alone going over the party and all of these other things. And if you do, congratulations. That just shows that what we're doing is itself an adventure. It's meaningful. It's something you can take your time, savor. It's not complicated. And your life is a part, like your adventure through IRL life is very much a part of what it is that you're going to be doing when you sit down with your friends at the table and you play through the game. Yep, the gnome was our very first one, Bagger. Yep, the gnome gladiator. Well, hey, I mean, don't thank me for the gifts. I mean, beyond some like weird like ultimately because I exist sort of a thing. But many thanks to Decoder, because Decoder has gone pretty consistently hard with gifting subs in this channel, and it means a lot. Decoder, you keep this up, and you're going to be in the 2024 memorial. Oh, right. Well, hey, there are people who make it into the memorial. If you're not sure about that, you can go back and check the past ones in the notes, and you can see that people who do step up, you know, that are consistent in some way or who have an impact on the channel in some way, it is my thanks to them to have them end up in the memorial. Now, I don't think the 2024 memorial, I'm really hoping, is not going to be, you know, a haunted, bloody shell of an arcade like 2023's was. But especially with a name like Decoder, I'm sure that I can find a fun way to work that into a reference somewhere. So yeah, like, you know, usually it's you hear something like, you know, you keep that up and you're going to be on the list, mister. You will. It's just going to be on a different one that might actually be fun, and you can try and find yourself in whatever it is. But we still have 10. There's 10 more months until I really have to give a lot of serious thought to that. Because then it'll be Christmas time 2024 in a short 10 months, everyone. And the end of the year will be upon us, and weighty decisions will have to be made. Anyway, so if you remember, we made our 4 characters. We had our gladiator, our singing gladiator. We didn't end up giving them names, at least not officially here. So I have to refer to them by, you know, I'll refer to them by their backgrounds. Pardon me. We have this multi-classed light cleric champion fighter. His whole shtick was kind of a professional wrestler, putting on a theatrical fighting performance. Young adult here at 30. We made a tiefling sorcerer. And she's middle-aged. She's 62. A beautiful chaotic evil alignment. And if you go, wait a minute, how is that going to work with a party, especially if our gnome is lawful good? This is just asking for conflict. In a sense, it very much can, but not in as reductive a way as just comparing alignments as some end-all be-all to a character. You can go back and watch those VODs, or you can find it on YouTube after I upload the workshop series to it. Anyway, so we have our sorcerer, a gold dragon blood sorcerer. Then we have our tiefling monk pirate at a venerable 88, perhaps on the last journey of his life. Perhaps to go out and find or salvage that first ship. That is his bond to a place. Or it'll come in handy in some way, right? Freedom, the sea is freedom, the freedom to go anywhere and do anything. All of these were inspired characters because we focused on who the characters were. And yes, we ultimately did get their stats and other things. This was one of the last parts of a character we made together. We focused on who these people were. And look at this, we even ended up with a gold dragonborn, a battle master fighter, and in particular here we have this tribal marauder, this outlander, who we determined was in fact raised by. We put kobolds in brackets as perhaps a default placeholder. In this instance, I think we determined through our workshop series, and what tonight is going to be a broader reflection on. He was in fact raised by dwarves. Now, the dwarves in this setting appear to be not feral, but they're the ones who live in our Arctic wilds. Of course, we went through and we went over the party, right? We laid out the mechanical aspects of the party. We took a look at the skills, at the proficiencies anyway, tools, languages. We went over ways to examine your party as a character itself. What does this character of the party look like? And we also discussed its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We made a SWOT report. Now, a real one, if you're making one like for a business, you're going to take a SWOT report as part of your business proposition to a bank for a loan. You're going to want more than what you see here. But we got the point across about different ways you can examine these more mechanical features of the party. Then we took a look at the softer side of the party, not just the crunch, but the fluff. We wrote out, this is pretty much copy and paste here, the personalities, the background info, along with some descriptive words, but nothing that was directly mechanical, like a strength score or the languages that were spoken. Now, that sort of stuff can end up in a document like this. It doesn't have to be excluded. But this was another way I could present to you to find out how it is let's do this, that we can not only see how the characters can bond together and have commonalities despite more than just their alignments. Yes, is a chaotic evil character going to have conflict with a lawful good? Yes, not inherently, but perhaps over specific things. But we can't even consider those unless we understand who the characters are beyond the stereotypes of just the alignment. And so we were connecting our characters through the pieces that make each of them up. Not just treating them like an adjective or a noun, but the characters are the sum of a great many parts, and those parts can interact with other parts of other characters in unique ways, such that ultimately we have 4 characters who can get along. And especially then as a DM, as a dungeon master, as a storyteller, a game master, or a game mother if you're playing Alien RPG, because this idea works in other role-playing games. This is not limited to Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition specifically, but this is not limited to D&D 5e. I went through some examples. Again, the rest of this could be filled out. What are some setting inspirations we as a DM can take from each of the 4 characters? What about NPC inspirations? What about antagonist inspirations? What about just overall adventure inspirations. Decoder says, I'm currently playing a Gold Dragon Lineage Sorcerer Half-Elf. What is the background to your character, and can you tell us about the adventure that this character is undertaking, Decoder? I'd love to hear how your character is going, or like what they're doing, and how the game is moving along. Well, and then what did we do? Of course, we also made a map of the area off of our setting. Oop, there we go. Off of our setting, which we randomly generated here in here in the workshop together. A former town's guard. I play like a dex fighter, and no one knows that I cast spells. Yes. You save that for a surprise. Now, is this everyone out of character knows, or the way that you're playing, even out of character, people think that you're just a dex fighter at this point? So, one by one, even through random prompts, this wasn't us just sitting there going, oh, I have to make a world, and what if my players compare it to, to X, Y, or Z, all these other stories and settings, and the weight of, I thought we were supposed to sit on the shoulders of giants and not feel their weight upon us. Everything we've made has been through random rolls and a little bit of imagination and conversation together. This has been so easy. We made that using the information for the party as well as setting inspiration. We were able to make a map. We didn't have to use an expensive or complicated we did not have to make an expensive or complicated map out of other programs. Now, things like Wonder Draft, Incarnate, etc. # not sponsored. They're great. They can make beautiful, gorgeous maps. Absolutely. You want to make sure that your ideas are clear when you're telling a story. That things don't get overcomplicated or burdensome. If not for you as the storyteller, then especially your players, who are supposed to live in this world and understand it. So if you use a program like Paint, everything is bold, everything is simple, everything is clear. You can always take this map and put it into a fancy program otherwise. But for me, and I've seen it or heard of it from others, you load up a big program with near infinite variety of tools and brushes and features and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden you have analysis paralysis. You get lost in the options. You go, should I use Pine Tree 1, 2, 3, 4, and you go all the way to like Pine Tree 35? Which Pine Tree should go here? Which blah blah blah, and it can bog down. At this point, it doesn't matter if you use Pine Tree 1 or Pine Tree 11 or whatever else. We know there's a forest. A forest means there's a bunch of trees. We'll cross the bridge of the trees when we get there. Maybe there's cool things. You actually have awakened trees in here, or some other landmark, a graveyard, or a little town. This is where the dwarves live. Maybe the dwarves of this world actually live in the woods. Who knows? But I'm not worried about that, because we need to get our ideas out there. We need to make them distinct. If you use a tool like Paint that starts with limited tools, limited palette, etc., it really helps you to you focus the attention of what's important. And you can always make it pretty later. Hi, Hunter. Oh, you spent all night going through Legends Arceus. Well, it's a nice wintry season for it. I mean, it may not be too cold down your way, but it's a good wintry game. I started playing Pokemon in Gen 4, so in its own way, while I know it's the throwback, the Hisuian, back in time thing. Gen 4 always has a special place in my heart. I plan on multi-classing Rogue at some point and mostly having concentration or reaction spells. Might take Warcaster at some point. Haste, Fly, and Invisibility will be key. I'll also use map control like Web and Sleet Storm. Yes, yes, yes. It's so you're like Fireball and Magic Missile. Man, if you take the environmental controls, that's the true like easy stuff is taking the direct damage spells. If you take Stinking Cloud, Fog, Web, Grease, that's the big brain magic user right there. That's the true command of the game if you control the environment. Oh, very good. Well, if you need help or advice on that, Hero Dragon, you can always ask for it in chat, and myself or others can get back to you if I'm broadcasting, or you can drop stuff in our RPG workshop too. So anyway, we have a bold map. We can always modify it, add to it. It was easy to make, easy to modify and erase. We had our setting, and then we're going over to we made villains and we made NPCs. And we saw a great many connections, not only between the two, but also with our player characters. This makes the story a lot easier to tell. And we didn't have to bruise our brains over coming up with it, because the story wrote itself, as they are wont to do. Stories are creatures unto themselves. We're simply the gate through which they pass from the world of the not perceived or the not real into the real world. In a sense, we are that liminal gateway. Our minds conduct that kind of magic. And so we've ushered in a very special place in a special world that is going to have a special story for special characters. And everything is playing out as it needs to because it was all built together. And we weren't trying to use a lot of artifice to make it happen where everything had to fit precisely, where, everything had to be perfect, or we're holding ourselves to an unreasonable standard that our friends at our dinner table would be holding us, or to some broad audience who doesn't know or doesn't care about our D&D game at our local store, library, or kitchen table. That is something else that I've also anecdotally picked up from many people, that it acts as a blanket that suppresses creativity and imagination. What do other people think of my story? And in this case, other people isn't a DM going my players. Now, there is that, of course, and I would be more worried about your players. But whoever this group of other people are, forget about them. These other people don't matter. What you're doing isn't for them. I mean, in a sense, even if you're broadcasting your game, or you have aspirations to turn it into a book, not all books are for all people. Not everyone watches even an incredibly popular stream like Critical Role, which, hey, it's Thursday night. Critical Role's probably on, or will be soon. People don't like it, don't watch it, or they've heard of it, but they don't know anything that goes on in it. Don't worry about these other people, especially because for some of them, nothing is ever good enough. and nothing will ever be good enough for them. It will always be criticized. It will always be compared to something else that, in that person's opinion, is better. And there's are you running a story for your friends, or are you running your story for a stranger on the internet? And yet, despite that being an issue some people have a contention with, well, what if these other people don't like what I do? Here we are in our workshop. We've created a story with elements of contest, notions of evil, moral issues, perhaps even legal issues. For the laws of a town or of a people. We've talked about their culture, their economy. We've talked about so many different things, and yet, hopefully, it doesn't feel like you've been just sitting in a class and just going, ugh. Look at everything we have accomplished for us. And you know what? Out there, if there's someone out there watching on YouTube in the future, a month from now, 2 years from now, well, hello from the past, and I hope I'm still around to, you want to pop in and say hi in the stream. Tell me I sent, you tell so and so I sent you. Tell me I sent you from the past. That would be cool, actually. I wonder if that will happen 2 years from now. All right, anyone on February 22nd, 2026? Tell me I sent you. Hi, Thantos and Belladonna. But we've had fun. It's unlocked a lot of creativity from a great many people, not just 4 close friends with whom in the real world of fantasy, you'd probably already share a rapport and in jokes and a comfort level. And Thantos, thank you. 39 months. Oh, gosh. You've got that beautiful brown belt as well. And yet, look how widely popular, acceptable, fun, able to spark the imaginations of many, what we have created because of everyone who has created has been a part of it. So don't hold yourself to these unreasonable other people or standards. Already, our notes can lay the groundwork for an incredible NaNoWriMo novel, which, of course, this year as well. So hello to November coming up from February. Already this November, where maybe this ends up being written into a novel, as I take us through a novel writing approach, which has similarity to, but still has big differences from planning a game to run through a game system with your friends. So we have our NPCs, we have our villains. Everything is set up now, and in the barkness, bind them. In the darkness, bind them. Bring them together, hold them to each other, and that's what the rest of tonight's workshop is going to be. It's taking all of our notes, and as we're bringing it together, if one thing inspires another, it causes an adjustment in something, it causes a tweak or a detail, which itself may not be anything groundbreaking for the plot or is an anchor for a character or something. But throughout all this, you might say, I like what we did with this villain, and seeing what we have on the map, that person now probably operates out of and then we can put a big, like, a red X where the villain's hideout is, or something else significant has come up. As the updates can ripple through the other documents, even after it does, it can even come back to the center, and those changes themselves can ripple back to the middle and then back out and back to the middle, and we get this, like water in a cup, right? You add a drop and it ripples out, it hits the boundaries, and then it ripples back across. And we can add one drop at a time, so that we're still not overwhelming ourselves. We're not burning our brains out. We're not somehow becoming creatively bankrupt. We add one little thing, we see where and how it works, and we move forward from it. I cast magic missile at the Barkness. Is the Barkness like it's a hellhound, just kind of a very noisy one? Now, how are we going to do that? Because, of course, I must have an exercise. I must have a way to present this. Because I can, and I do, very much, have... Oh, what's this? All the notes are just lined up and ready to go? Well, would you look at that? They are. Isn't that convenient? But just doing things this way, and it might work for some of you all. If you have a big desk and you say, oh yeah, I love this part, and you put all the notes, including the character sheets, you lay them out in front of you, and you can almost have one of those boards that you put the red string, like the conspiracy boards that you see in detective offices, or just like other like crime drama stuff or whatever. If that's how you think and can plan, do it. Absolutely do it that way. Which is a bigger way of just kind of color coding and highlighting words. We can simulate that by going back to paint. Well, would you look at that? We have a great big open canvas. And you know what we're going to do? I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. I know, it spoils everything, right? We are going... Orange is the color of adventure. Now, if it works better for you, to use different colors for this for every character, then you certainly can. In fact, I guess I could show that off. We'll use some secondary colors here. Orange, green. We'll use a dark blue. And we'll use a purple as well. Oh, Decoder, is you for real? I am begging with excitement that it's J.K. Hunter joining us, yes? Now, I'm going to put a couple other shapes around here as well. Now, this is not in any particular order. But I am going to put... I'm going to use this I'm going to use a brown color. I'm going to put our two NPCs that we made here, and the two villains we made. Let's use a light blue for our villains. I'm going to put them here. You might say, oh, gross colors, or my mind is already starting to check out. Hey, your brain might not think this way, and that's absolutely fine. Do it in a way that works best for you. This is simply a method that I can demonstrate to... Uh-oh. Do the impossible, see the invisible. Bro, fight the power. Crush the untouchable, break the unbreakable. Bro, fight the power. Hans Half-Elven, You are now fighting the power thanks to an anonymous gifter. Thank you so much, Anonymous, for gifting that to Hans Half-Elven. A very cheerful half-elf who runs in an amazing channel. And I do suggest you all go over and give his channel a look. Now what we can do, you know, we have our players here. And don't forget that the setting itself is a player. But we can go through and in a smaller and oranger font, we have our gladiator. We have, let's see, who was our last one? Oh, this was our Outlander. We have our Outlander. We have our Sage, our Researcher. And we have our Pirate. We don't have names, but we can give roles and other traits to our NPCs and our villains as well. But let's go take a look at a way that we can start pulling things together. For example, from our Outlander, we'll make a little bubble, and we are going to have down here in purple. We're going to have dwarves. Whoops. Wrong purple. And we're going to connect this character to dwarves. And we know, and also can make a note. If you think better by making the note of like the verb of the action showing the connection, you can. You can also show that it's mutual. That dwarves in general, you know this Outlander. Now, we also know that our, let's see, we have our two NPCs. We have our Astronomer NPC and our other Pirate NPC. Let's do this. We're going to say Astro NPC. And Pirate NPC. While we're talking about just dwarves, here is the one stone dropped in, right, that causes the ripples that go back and forth. And it also goes into a phrase that a single stone dropped into the ocean changes it forever, which is it's a little bit of a a little bit of a philosophical thing to think about, kind of a Zen koan, Koan, um, which is in Zen Buddhism, it's a thoughtful mindfulness riddle that gets you to contemplate things differently. Sort of like my favorite Zen koan goes, "Nothing is as it seems," which you might hear that often, right? Nothing is as it seems. This is where the riddle comes into play. Neither is it otherwise. What does that mean? Nothing is as it seems, neither is it otherwise. Oh. Anyway, we're gonna drop the one stone into the ocean, which is something again for you all to contemplate. How can one little stone change the ocean forever? How does that make sense? The ocean is huge. There's an answer to it, and I'm curious if you all have opinions on that. Now, what we can do, we drop the stone that there are dwarves in the world here. Both of our NPCs actually happened to be dwarves. So why don't we do this? We're going to draw a line. So these two for sure will be, connected through dwarfhood. And also, in some way, these two are going to be connected to the dwarves. So we'll draw a line here, and can I? I'll have to custom wiggle a line. Now maybe it's the case that our pirate might be, that there's no real tribe or clan or family of dwarves. That could just be a one-way relationship. But this one here might be a two-way, where this is someone who still is in connection, maybe active communication. And there could even be specific names. This can branch off itself as well. But you can see I'm trying to visually map out our connections, because if something comes up where the dwarves are impacted in some way, I don't know, there's a disease. Oh, you know what? There's a plague. A plague is running through the lands right now. That is the current calamity of our setting, which I think was here. And it's sparking riots. Now, we didn't really discuss what the plague is. We had a bit of a tongue-in-cheek conversation about it, but it wasn't determined. What if it's a plague that only affects the dwarves? And it's something more than, dwarven hair falls out or something, right? Kind of how Klingons lost their ridges for a while in the Star Trek universe. Well, what if it's something that the dwarves are dying out? Already, if we push this button, boop, we can see what is going to happen. Who will it affect immediately, and how will that ripple out to the other characters? Well, I will narrate as much as I can for you, Rip Artist. I know what I'm doing is, of all the workshops, a lot more visual. I will narrate as much as I can. And it looks like Belladonna's going into lurk mode. Yeah, kind of a butterfly effect. And what this does is it's a tool for us as a storyteller to see the natural consequences for actions that are taken. But also it helps us find opportunity elsewhere. Now we have our two pirate NPCs. And so let's draw a line, and in the case where it might be mutual, I will favor the maybe the direction coming from the PC, or you can do something like this where you draw. We know that there's a relationship here, and if you like using colors or whatever, you can draw the NPC colors going back, or you can make the line half reddish brown, or whatever works best for you. Now these two have a large age in their gap, a large age in their gap, a large gap in their age. Though if they're both pirates, they still may know a crew or crews or a ship in the area that still functions. And it's just we have a new generation and a young generation. And we know also, let's make a circle. We know that somewhere out there, as it's also on our map because it was important. It was important to this character. It was his bond. His first ship is always in his memory. And when we're making our map, not that we can't change it later, but we said that that ship is sunk right by the area where the conquering halflings erected an obelisk for their victory in conquering this area from the half-elves, which we're calling like the Numenorians, like long-lived humans or some sort of humanoid, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be half-elf, half something else. Mostly human, but, whatever. Well, that ship for sure is important to our pirate character. Let's call this... so he's 88. This would have been a first ship. This probably would have been around the time of the conquering. Lack of a better term, let's call this pirate ship icebreaker. And so the icebreaker is that first ship that came over, maybe as a corsair, as an opportunist, as a mercenary with the halflings. But we know that the icebreaker, which ironically might now be broken upon the ice or sunk partially, by it or something. We know that this is very important to our pirate character here. And it's really one-sided, because if it is sunk, then there's not exactly a shared bond between it. And now that we have this too, all right, well, the dwarves themselves, especially if they are more local, native, indigenous to this Arctic area, may not have a hand in the icebreaker, or they were. And in this instance, if we draw a line, because we say, you know what, now that we have this laid out, the dwarves probably would have helped our half-elves fend off the conquering halfling. In this instance, we do this, and the dwarves sunk the ship. Now, the Outlander didn't. The pirate NPC didn't. Neither did this other dwarf astronomer. Though the dwarves of the area in history did sink this. Now, we have two different lines because this character... Maybe this character doesn't know that. This is as the storyteller, this is our note. This is, and so there's not this connection yet. Because right now, our pirate has no connection to the dwarves. Only to the ship. But we know that if something, history or something comes up about the ship, all of a sudden, the dwarves don't necessarily have anything against the pirate, or at least not actively. But now then we can change as the relationship breaks or gets added. We can draw the arrow showing that there's a grudge, a grievance, or something, or that as part of his final. Remember, he's venerable. This is an 80. What did we say? 88-year-old tiefling. This is definitely, unless something happens and he attains that perfect self to suppress the effects of aging. This is his last huzzah. Maybe this is going to be to find out what happened to that ship so long ago. But you're very welcome for it. Although, Rip Artist, can you not change the 1080 source into one that's lower? Is there not like a 360 or a 720 option? Welcome back, Decoder. But we didn't know that the dwarves sunk the pirate ship, or even what the pirate ship was called, until we're looking at all of our notes. Because now we can go back and forth. We can answer questions by showing, all right, so if she's missing teeth, what happened? Was this in a fight? Is this because of the disease? In fact, as something in this setting, and we could probably just make that as something in the periphery here. We'll use a different shape. We'll use this. Let's see. We have our diamond. Oh, you know what? We don't have our pentagons here. So we'll make a little black pentagon that over here for the setting. I don't know what this is going to be, but let's just, I'm on the tool already. Let's make another setting note. Let's see. We're throwing out the idea that this is a dwarf plague. Well, the dwarf plague is afflicting our pirate. Doesn't seem to yet, anyway, unless we talk about the unusual hair color, perhaps. But we know is afflicting our pirate here. And in general, is also affecting dwarves. Now, if we wanted to, we can make a separate line from here, because this could be, if we wanted to say as part of world building, that missing teeth might be... what else came up as we were just talking about the notes? That the tieflings. The tieflings are a result of something in the area. Kind of a curse of the energy that's holding this place in homeostasis. But these could be different symptoms meaning different things. So we can actually give the dwarf plague is affecting each of these teeth, which might mean one thing. Hair. And if we do this, we go, wait a minute. If we're talking about the half-elves, quote-unquote, also being, like part of the original people here before the halflings and everything else, It's the only sort. It's the only one that's offered. Oh, well, I'm sorry you can't. No different choices tonight. Yeah, at least for right now. Then it's odd. It won't let you downgrade, but I think unless I'm a partner, I think partners get that choice to limit quality, and affiliates get it only if their servers are capable of offering it as a choice. So maybe it's a busy night, or because it's in the D&D category. Like, it is Critical Role still? They're still playing D&D, right? Or have they switched over to Candela Obscura? See what's going on over there. Nope, Critical Role. 16.9K, yeah, so I don't, maybe it's their it's whatever their coding is for that sort of a thing. But if you go, wait a minute, if we've been talking about this whole time that the half elves are also, they're either native, or at least they were here before the halflings, because this land has kind of gone through different conquering. In fact, maybe the dwarves were here first, then the half elves came along, and then after that were the halflings. Because people want this area for the riches of the soil, of the bounty that the glacier brings down, in mineral wealth too. But if they've been here for a while still, we go, wait a minute, didn't we have a half-elf villain? Let's see. We had a forest gnome. Oh, wait, unusual hair color for a half-elf. And we might then go, all right, what if it's not just a dwarf plague? And I'm giving you an example of how you can change your ideas over time. Actually, we're going to make it easier. We're going to do this. Here's a hack. Because now everything black will turn to white. Why is there still a line? I thought I was being clever, but I was not clever enough. All right, let's, I guess, get the paintbrush out. What if we change this to, if not a native plague, then it could just be, I don't know what the term would be, just people who've been here long enough. A lingering, kind of a lingering plague? A lingerer? A lingerer plague? And you can see where, by laying out our notes, this is still all working organically. And this is also going to allow us to say this same plague is also afflicting this villain, because it's starting to set in with the hair. We had these beautiful connections that were brought up through our random generation of thing. Now, again, we see the connections because we're the storyteller. We need to understand how it works. Macabre Derek calls it strings and dominoes. You push over one domino and it everything else falls down into a pattern. Or if you pull on a string, what else moves, right? He calls this sort of thing strings and dominoes, which is very apt. But you are understanding as a storyteller the strings and the dominoes here. And we can even go around and say, wait a minute, we technically made an NPC and a villain at the same time. In fact, we're gonna move this NPC here. Actually, we're gonna move that NPC here for convenience sake, because we have our knight who is being corrupted by a fiend. Make that a hair smaller here. And so our real villain is the fiend, who we know is corrupting. Now, she doesn't know this. Who's corrupting this character. Here we have two gnomes who might share some kind of a relation, or if they don't, it could still be a connection. But we have someone, actually, we even said that because of the way she was built, she might also be an entertainer. So he has the gladiator background. She has an entourage of two, but she sees three of three followers. She is also performative in what she does. She's very famous for it. And so these two, in a sense, might even be allies with each other, and not just gnomes, but allies. But we have this fiend who is corrupting the knight because a fiend bent on corruption wants to open a gate to another world through lying. As we have an autocracy, and so an autocrat who is a feared tyrant that we made in our setting, a way to placate people is bread and circuses. In this instance, we have a gladiator. We have a very famous other combatant, this knight, who probably wield a lot of power and influence, being these champions to help entertain and keep people distracted from the misery of the area, right? It's destitute and run down. It's run by a feared tyrant. The halflings are the conquerors of the half-elves. Oh, am I back? Okay. So yeah, refresh if you have to. Yeah. Weird. Maybe it's something on Twitch's end. Then, if you all aren't getting the choices and I just crashed, because I don't have any other errors on my end. I haven't been dropping frames or anything, and I know that there's been other channels that have had broadcast issues. So I don't know whether it's the platform or something else. But it's good to be back. If you missed what I was saying, because I kept talking through it, it'll be, well, probably not in the VOD, but it'll be on the YouTube video. But now, look, we have all of these randomized prompts that are making a coherent history of this place. We have our fiend who's corrupting the knight. We have this link between the gladiator. In fact, we'll use this as an environmental thing. Due to the setting, we know that it is a destitute autocracy needing distraction. Here, we can turn it into an acronym. Yeah, this place is just dandy. It's a destitute autocracy needing distracting youths. Otherwise, they might rise up against the powers. I swear I'm not invoking anything IRL. If you that's a takeaway, that's on you and not me. But how are things going in our setting? Oh, they're dandy. It's a destitute autocracy needing distracting youth, or like needing or destitute autocracy needing distracted youth. Well, now we say, all right, our gladiator for sure partakes in this, as does our other kind of gladiator. And in fact, these two could even be rivals in their competition. Maybe not for they know of each other. But the power and influence means that the autocrat might listen to whoever is the most popular, whoever is making a lot of money, whoever's actually distracting people from the terrible conditions that are imposed on them through the autocracy. The fiend who is corrupting the knight might actually be the one who has triggered this lingerer plague to start being emanated from the crystal, which itself, this is the gateway. But we talked about, there's some sort of like a filter that's on it that's keeping the fiends out, but is allowing the heat or the energy or something from the place in, making this a very warm, special place in an otherwise inhospitable Arctic area. And so we can draw another line. And if it starts filling up like this and you're like, well, I don't think in 3D that well, you can have it go around like this if you want to squiggle, or if you want to make it go through things, what I like doing is this, where we come down. Let me make a straight line here. This is how I like to show the continuity, like kind of running over or under other lines. But the lingerer plague is actually being instigated by the fiend. So that we are corrupting a popular individual. We're also, this fiend is also the one who's causing that plague by exacerbating the crystal or tainting it or something along those lines. Or the actions against the autocrat, who supposedly take care of the crystal, which is why they are in power. Why anyone tolerates them, because maybe they're the only ones who understand how it works. Have a good night, Decoder. Well, thank you for leaving it up. Hi, Rose Wolf. Needing teens with attitude. That game is going to be later this year, Belladonna. I don't know if you saw, but I'm going to be running a Power Rangers 3-shot during winter time this year. There's 3 new games that I want to play with you all in the community, and Power Rangers is one of them. But hopefully, by looking at this, you can see how powerful this very simple exercise is. where you can go back and you're adding one stone at a time, and you're making the connections. You're drawing it out. Or if you have one of those big cork boards, you're making the conspiracy board. Well, because you are connecting them, and that's besides the connections that the Outlander shares with the Gladiator. We kind of were doing that in text form, so I didn't share that in particular. Um, so if you keep that separate, maybe you keep that separate, and these are their own considerations, or you make several of these. You make the Gladiator, Researcher, Pirate, Outlander, and you make 4 different copies, and you focus on the types of connections, as if they're layers. Or if any of you are artists with an actual layer capable piece of software, you can make this in layers. Here's my NPC interaction layer. So you have your base, you layer the NPCs and their interactions, and then you have your villain or villains layer. Then you have whatever, and you can flip like an animator with a transparent cell. You can flip between them and see almost not an animation per se, but you can see how the relationships are playing out. But because you've done this step by step, little bit by little bit, you as the storyteller are way more comfortable with the world because you've done all of this one piece at a time. You're able to think about these parts individually as well as how they could be connected. And not everything has to have a connection to something else. In fact, just because these two are dwarves doesn't mean they know each other or share any kind of relationship as siblings or friends or rivals or something. They're just, coincidentally both dwarves. Well, wouldn't you know, most, if not all of us, are humans, or at least humanoid, right? You don't have to out yourself as a robot, but, and so this is not complicated in form or function, and it gives you almost another way you could look at it would be like a circuit board. Maybe you push a button and you see where the signal is sent. You can see what lights up if you push any of these buttons. If you want to push the button of a player because you want to add some pressure, you want to manipulate the story or move into the next part of things, you know that if you bring up the dwarves, it's going to unlock all of these things that the dwarves are in a circuitous relationship with. Yeah, they're dwarves. They're cousins somehow. That's the trope. Yeah, all dwarves know each other. It's But I hope this makes sense, and you can see that this is a way that not only has inspired more plot ideas and story ideas that we didn't even get from this exercise, looking at just the players. Because now this has taken the NPCs, the villains, the setting. This has gone over all of our notes. And very, very easily given us a method to bring everything together. If we know thieves can't, because this exercise was done after our setting, where's the Thieves Guild? Or where's the people who operate that know this this special language? Is the Thieves Guild in the big city somewhere, like in the main capital area? Is it out here next? We said that this was a goat racing track because it's out in the countryside. This is good goat country, by the way, everyone. Good goat country. The gnomes, halflings, and dwarves ride the goats around. Maybe some are even big enough that the half elves ride them around too. Does it operate out here, or does it operate out of one of the old mines that are constantly being new mines, but they're old because the mine has been in continuous production for a long time, as the glacier just keeps hitting this heat shield and melting, providing all the wealth and resources. And so it might not even be thieves' cant per se. It might be miner talk. This person knows how to talk to the people who've been mining in here, and they just have their own shorthand language for things, for picking things up, for hiding things, different names for something. So let's say someone finds a diamond. I know it's not that easy like in Minecraft. But anyway, let's just say someone finds a diamond. They can talk to someone else who knows, like, hey, I picked up a bit of shine in the ice. Now, anyone hearing that might associate those words to different concepts, but for people who can speak the mining language, they understand. I found a diamond in the glacier, and now all of a sudden that person's not targeted for theft or extortion or something else. And look at that, we just did world building. So there's not a thieves guild; it's actually maybe more of a mining guild. But there are similar operations because it helps to move goods, hide intentions. And it may not be illegal, but it's born out of the necessity to make sure that the secrets in the ice are kept secret until they don't need to be anymore. It's goats can't. They can speak goat. Jim Brewer, did you know this? Jim Brewer, the comedian from Saturday Night Live, can speak goat as well. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you're old. Congratulations. But look at this. Everything is connected. You know, the circle of life, as it were, right? The grass, the lions, and the antelope. Every little bit, every word, everything else, you can also visually lay out along with the physical notes. But we've taken all of this and we can expand this and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we have a roadmap forward. We have ways to inspire ourselves to delve into a really unique setting and to do cool things within it without feeling the weight of the giants. Oh, it takes place in the north. Oh, this is clearly, it's just going to end up like A Song of Ice and Fire, because I really like the books or the show. Seasons 1 through 6, seasons 1 through 7.5, and that's really, that's the most ready to go to source of northern adventure that I can think of. I like it, but I don't want it to be the Northern Kingdom of Martin's design. I don't want it to be totally not a Viking village IRL. Well, what we've made absolutely isn't. And it also hasn't just... Oh, all right, heretic. And it also isn't contrived, nor cynical, nor lazy. Or that we've done something just to... Oh, for the shock value. What? The innocent halflings, the hobbitses, are the conquerors? Yeah, who'd expect that, right? Wah. Oh, cool. So why did they conquer? And then you go, oh, well, I was just trying to be funny because whoever thinks of halflings as conquerors, and that's as deep as it gets. We know why the halflings conquered. We might even be able to tell you how the halflings conquered, and after conquering, what faces them because of the current predicament they find themselves in. This actually has depth and history and meaning. It's not done for the sake of it, for the lulz, or for laziness. It's all connected. And you, as the storyteller, are going to appear brilliant. You will be the next great author if you put this to manuscript. Because whoever would have thought of it in this way? It's not a matter of something new under the sun. There's a phrase that goes, "There is nothing new under the sun." It's not the matter that something is new. It's what about it is different. What about it might, what is an aspect that could be new? A fresh take, a different angle, a varying reason. Because already, as human beings, we're hardwired to acknowledge and appreciate the little differences. If a car is just a car, why do we have so many different makes, models, colors, etc., and options? If a human being is a human being, why are there so many different kinds of us? Or that we notice the interesting differences. Because we look for them. We are pattern recognizing people as readers, authors, storytellers, players in a role-playing game, as a streamer and audience. We recognize patterns, and therefore we can see variance in the pattern. And we also are drawn to those variants. They're opportunity. They're interesting. They make our brains happy and squirt out the happy brain juice. Whoa, that's cool. I never thought of things that way. And it doesn't take a lot, especially if there's only a couple things that are really ever changed up, but you allow them to ripple through everything else. You allow the process to have its ebb and flow, its back and forth. Because if you change too much all at once, then the audience, whether they're players or readers, are going to become detached from what you're presenting. It is too ridiculous. You have jumped the shark. I can't relate to the players or the story. Or it becomes contrived. You've only changed this for the sake of change and nothing else. Which is a big criticism of a lot of, recent year entertainment. The things, characteristics, people, characters, or whatever, are changed for contrived reasons. And there's no entertainment in that. There's no immersion or in the story or a care for what happened. It's the difference between showing and telling. It's the difference between a subtle, nuanced character that's powerful or just this overt Mary Sue style character, which is just shown to you and say, just trust me, bro. And so you can do this. And in the small and subtle ways, you have the ability to do something really cool. Even if you don't think you can right now. Keep attending the workshops, stick around. I've been thinking up names for my months and days of the week. It was the goats all... Hey, there you go. Dun, dun, dun. Speaking of which, if you just heard one... In fact, I mean, if you even want to bring it around, if we have goats in our IRL, there's IRL goats have some crossover with Abrahamic imagery of corruption and fiendish behavior. Or instead of goats, they're red herrings, and not just the fish or the character from the like Junior Scooby-Doo or whatever, the like Scooby-Doo Adventures or whatever. A pup named Scooby-Doo. That was the name of it. So just do it. Just do it. Believe in yourself and take it one step at a time. Nothing that you saw up here throughout all the workshops or that I've flashed up here. Yes, it's a lot of words. Well, it is now. But all of this, for as many words that are here, that was actually copy and pasted from something in our roleplay anyway. Someone else did. Now, we did it, because we were role playing the players, and then we role played as the DM. But even when we were doing it as the players, we still took it one step at a time. Nice and easy, fun and creative. Happy brain juice the entire way. Ah, interesting, huh?